Exciting time of year? For some people, yes. For some people, no. Now, our track record in the mid-season draft, maybe not the best. I would say Callan Dawson is a big hit. Geordie Payne looks like a prospect. And we've picked up some okay players, but then Brent Teakle is another one. But then you look at your Jacob Edwardses, and that's when it starts to feel a little bit bad. Anyway, who can we pick up in this draft, and what positions do we need? I haven't heard much chat about the mid-season draft, but we're here to cover it. Just off the bat, I'm not going to claim to be an expert about this at all. I've just done a bit of research, chatted to a few people, have heard of some prospects, and we've been linked to a few different guys. I am not an expert on this. If I get any facts wrong, I did my research as much as I could, but I don't follow the VFL incredibly closely, the coach leagues or whatever other leagues these guys are coming from. I'm not sitting down watching the waffle every single week, okay? But I've done some research. I'm going to try and give you a rough outline on some of the prospects we've been linked with, who I think would fit and why we should target those players. So let's have a quick discussion. Let's start with what sort of players should we look at or do we need? Now, I think historically in the mid-season draft, midfielders are the way to go. You've got Long from Collingwood, you've got Durham from Essendon. I think Newcomb was a mid-season draft pick as well. But that's the last position we need. And this is one of the areas which makes me feel a little bit up and down about it, because when you're near the bottom of the ladder, I really think that you need to go for help now compared to the future, right? North Melbourne don't seem to agree with that. Jacob Edwards was a future pick, didn't work. Your Geordie Paynes, they're ones for the future. But then you look at a Brent Teakle, who I'm shocked hasn't played this year. I think he did deserve his shot over Finbar. He had another 3 goals on the weekend in a demolition job of Collingwood. Nothing against Finbar at all. I've loved what he's producing or looking like he can produce, even though the kicking is wayward. But I personally believe in the mid-season draft, we should be looking more at who can help us now. Not picking up a 30-year-old or anything like that, but early to mid-20s, someone who's played a little bit, who can help us now but also be part of our future, okay? What positions do we need? We're going to rule out the midfield. We've got wingers. We've got inside mids. I would like mids with more polish, but I think your McKerches and your Fosses will be that eventually. That being said, then maybe we can look at some wingers, but probably right now I don't think so. Shannon Grant has a son coming through as well, and the father's son. I don't know if that's this upcoming draft or the next, but he is meant to be a very athletic winger. Maybe we can wait for something like that. But let's go backline. Do we need a key defender? I think a lot of people would say, yes, we need a key defender. Are you going to get the key defender we need from the mid-season draft? My opinion, no. Not a key defender. We've got numbers in key defense. You've got a couple of Dawsons. You've got Toby Pink, Logue, Core, Comben, Whitlock coming through. There's so many options in key defense. Please do not draft a key defender. The best key defender you'll get through the mid-season draft is like a Callan Dawson who's serviceable at AFL level. You're not finding anything better than that in a mid-season draft. I was chatting to Joel about this a little bit as well, and he says he's one of the more successful mid-season picks. I know we look at those 3 maybe I named at the start, but then after that it drops away quite a bit, and all of a sudden you're looking at Callan Dawson's and looking at his stats compared to a lot of other teams who have picked in the mid-season draft, and you go, he's actually doing fairly well. He's got a lot more opportunity. He's played a lot of games compared to those guys. So I'm ruling out key defender. The best we could do in the mid-season draft is get another Callan Dawson-esque player, which we've got Callan Dawson, and we don't need that, and the numbers are there for key defense. Small defender, medium-sized defender, small defender. There's 2 types of defenders, a lockdown or a running halfback. Now, in my opinion, a lockdown small, that should be our number 1 target in this draft, our number 1 target. We need someone to cover Jackson Archer. Jackson Archer is that guy of the future, but it's hard to overlook the hamstring injuries, the niggles he's had in nearly every preseason of his career. We need to make sure this guy's got the talent and can be a fantastic lockdown defender in the league, but does he play enough? I would like some backup for him, and I think that is a position that we should be looking at. Running half back, I don't think so. I wouldn't hate if we picked up someone like that, but with Daniel and Hardiman now looking fantastic, Goda to come back, you know, I think there's enough there when you look at, you can play a Sheaves or you can play a Foss there as well. We've probably got enough numbers, but I wouldn't say no, but I probably wouldn't go with our first pick with that. That being said, how many picks do we have in the draft? I believe it's two. Miller Bergman out for a whole season, so that frees up a spot for us definitely. But I think because Tucker is now out for the season, we can pick two. Don't quote me on it. We definitely got one, but I believe we'll pick two in the draft because they're both season-ending injuries. So maybe we can pick up one each of those sort of defenders. Now let's move to the other end of the ground, forwards. Do we need a key forward? Yes, we do. I think that is arguably our biggest hole in the starting 22. And I like what Finbar's producing, but I still just don't trust the kicking, and I don't know if the ceiling is there. And Darling, I think he's been really, really good for us, but he's not going to be there in a couple of seasons. So who is playing next to Nick Larkey? Apparently Will Dawson's going to be the guy in the VFL. He kicked 3 goals in one game and hasn't done anything in the forward line since then. Whitlock, they refused to play forward, which I think is a travesty, but I'm not going to go over that again. Bryn Teakle absolutely deserves an opportunity. Him in the forward line can take a contested mark, kicked 3 on the weekend, is a great shot at goal, and can back up for Big X in the ruck. I don't know why he's not getting that opportunity. But outside of those guys, there's no one that we know is going to be there when Darling goes. And you can like Finbar all you want, and that's great, and maybe he is the guy, but right now you can't say that for sure. So I don't think it's bad that we go after someone like that. But in the mid-season draft, I probably want someone with a higher ceiling, because majority of the time, except for the rare occasion, you're getting a backup at best, a solid VFL guy who can chop out in the ones from the mid-season draft. And I just don't know if I want another forward like that. I don't want another forward at the level of being a VFL player. And yes, Teakle and Finbar maybe are that at the moment, but I think they've both done enough to deserve an opportunity, with their age. Teakle's only 24 years old, I believe, and Finbar a little bit younger, even though I think maybe Teakle is a better player right now. Maybe Finbar's got a high ceiling. That's up for debate, but we're not here to debate that. There's a couple of key forwards popping up, which we'll talk about in a second. The other one is a small forward. I feel like we've got the numbers now with small forwards. I mean, Geordie Payne hasn't had his shot. Cooper Harvey needs to have a game. Will he get a game? I genuinely have no idea, but he needs to play. I mean, he kicked another bag on the weekend. He's been fantastic at VFL level. And Constanti, I think he's doing pretty well. I think he's doing enough. A lot of haters on Constanti, but I think some of the fan base at the moment is maybe slightly overreacting to not being a much better team at this stage, when I think it's more slow, gradual progression. So I just don't know if that's the way we go, but there's a couple of prospects popping up. So that being said, let's talk about the prospects. They're sort of the only positions I think we should really target. Let's have a look at some of the prospects. So the first one we're going to kick off here is a small forward, can play in the midfield, is Massimo Rasso, I believe his name is. An exciting sort of small forward who's playing for Richmond's VFL. Now, the other thing I'll just say here is I don't know if – I'm assuming we can just take some of their VFL players if they've all nominated for the draft. I don't know if there's any other loopholes there. But as far as I'm aware, anyone who nominates for the mid-season draft is a VFL-listed player can play or can go to another team. So he's currently in Richmond's VFL team. This year has kicked 12 goals for Richmond as a small forward. Doesn't mind a tackle as well. I mean, he's had 4 games in a row with 3 tackles as well, another couple with 1. But it's more the scoreboard impact. We've got Constantis who can put on pressure, and Geordie Paynes are known for that as well. But the scoreboard is the thing we need if we're going to change up the small forward thing. I don't know if Robert Hansen's ever going to be that small forward that puts a lot of scoreboard pressure on. Massimo Rasso, 12 goals for in his 7 appearances for Richmond's VFL team. So he is definitely someone I would be having a look at if we did want to fill that hole as a small forward for more of a goal threat in there. 171 centimetres, born in 2006. So he's young, but does he have that goal threat? His stats this year seem to suggest so, even though, once again, I'm not watching Richmond's VFL team play every single weekend, but the numbers are good from a young player, and we need goal threat. Another small forward is Zach Banch. He is maybe not, his numbers don't really stand out as much to you. I mean, I'm just going to try and total this up here. He's been in the VFL for a few years now. I think started in 2023. He's been at Werribee most of the time, except for a small stint at Williamstown in 2023. This season, let's have a look at his goal output. 3-6. So he's kicked 8 goals in his games this year in the 7 games in the VFL. Not a bad return. I sort of want someone who's got a little bit more form right now. You cannot go past the accuracy of Massimo before. So I don't know really potential-wise what they're really known at. I mean, Sam Toner, 184 centimetres, so a little bit bigger, born in 2005, so 1 year older. His strengths on this draft website suggest pressure act, scoreboard impact, speed, vertical leap. Size and endurance needs improvement, but I mean, speed and scoreboard impact are things we're looking for. So if we did want to go for another option who has a little bit of potential, maybe Sam Toner is the way to go. I'm looking at his stats over the last couple of years, and 24 goals, 22, so maybe not the most, accurate. Why did that word not come out of my mouth? But he looks okay. Doesn't mind a tackle as well, consistently putting up tackles. He's had a couple of, this season alone, I mean, a 9-tackle game, a couple of 6-tackle games. Yeah, so tackle and scoreboard pressure, not a bad one. Just looking at it, Massimo's stats maybe, tickle my fancy a little bit more just because he's kicked more goals, and the scoreboard pressure is what I think we lack. We've got tackling small forwards, but if Sam's clearly getting a lot of shots at goal, so maybe he could be an option. Another option up here, let me just go along here, is, I've lost it right here. Sorry, 1 second. Archer May, a key forward. Now, let's look at some key forwards. He is fairly strongly linked with us. I believe he's playing over in the Waffle at Subiaco. I think that's where Robert Hansen came from. Not a bad prospect here. Looks like a big boy. I'm just going to try and see if we can get up his numbers this season. But 12 goals in 6 games. Looks like an absolute specimen. 93 kilos, 198 centimeters, 20 years of age. I wouldn't hate it. I absolutely wouldn't hate it. But I do worry that key position players in the mid-season drafts have a ceiling where your smaller players maybe can be worked on and come on a little bit quicker. But hey, 2 goals a game, you cannot you cannot doubt that at all. 37 marks over his 6 games as well. So clearly a marking machine. Round 4, 7 marks. Round 5 for him, 6 marks. 9 marks in round 2. It's he looks like a decent prospect. If he ended up on the list, I would not be upset about that at all. Once again, I do worry that they've got a ceiling, but he's averaging 6 marks a game. He's averaging 6 disposals a game, and there's 6 marks and 6 goals. So, every touch he gets, he marks it and he kicks a goal with it. So, look, stick him in the goal square, I guess, and let Larky maybe lead up the ground, but wouldn't be upset if he ended up on our list. Another one is Cooper Trembath. He is listed to us in the VFL at the moment. He kicked 3 goals, 1 in his 1 game he's played for us against the Brisbane Lions this year. Doesn't excite me too much here. Why has he only got 1 game for us? I don't really know his age. I don't think it tells me here, but why has he only played 1 game in our VFL when he's a VFL listed player? I don't know. This one probably doesn't excite me. Of course, want to bring someone up of our own, but we don't want another Tyler Sellers situation, even though I feel Tyler Sellers was a little bit hard done by. But probably not for me with Cooper Trembath. Maybe hasn't had the repetitions, I guess, in the team. 1 good game, but other than that, hasn't really featured for us. I don't know if he's playing in another league and needs to get called up to the VFL. Like I said, I'm no expert on this, but just outlining the stats maybe at a slightly higher level. Yeah, 1 game, 3 goals, no more games for him. Now, an ex-AFL player who's now playing for Geelong's VFL team is Nathan Kruger. Nathan Kruger, who played for Collingwood and Geelong, was drafted to Geelong in 2019, played 2 games for them, played for Collingwood from 22 to 24, 13 games and 11 goals for him. So, this is one of those ones. He's a little bit older. He's 25 years of age. This is one of those ones for me where I'm like, if we want someone to come in and make an impact now, maybe this can be the guy. He's playing for the Geelong reserves, and I think he's kicking a decent amount of goals. I mean, look, he's played in the VFL for a while now, a lot of VFL games for Collingwood. Over his few years in the VFL, he's kicked nearly 40 goals. This season alone, his last few games have been very, very good. So last game, 2 goals, he's kicked 4, 6, 9 goals for the season in his 7 games. It's okay, but maybe if we want a bigger body, a mature body, maybe we would bring him in. In that circumstance, though, for me personally, play Bryn Teakle because he's deserving a shot at VFL level, absolutely. So I would probably be playing him. Wouldn't hate him on the list, I guess, to back up or something like that, but, wouldn't be pissed off with this one at all, but maybe with our second pick, maybe not with our first pick. Riley Mason, another key forward to look at here, 195 centimetres, born in 2002, a key forward for Collingwood. He looks pretty decent, to be honest with you. We're looking at his 7 games in 2025. He's kicked 17 goals, 5, which is really, really exciting. First game, 4 goals. Second game, kicked 5 goals. Then 2, 1, 1, 4, and then didn't get one in his last game. But when we're going to draft players, I'm sort of looking at what they're doing right now because I would rather people come in and try and make an impact. Not bad. 17-5 in the VFL for Collingwood's team, which I believe are an okay team in the VFL. 195 centimetres, 2002. So what does that make him? 23 years old. Still young enough to have a future, but maybe is a bit physically more ready than a Jacob Edwards or someone like that. So I wouldn't be against going in that sort of direction, even though I do believe there's other players that we should be looking at. So we've covered the forward half of the ground. Now let's have a look at the back half of the ground. Charlie McCartan is one that has been linked to us. The middle brother of Tom and Paddy McCartan, originally overlooked in drafts, but he's really making a name for himself at the Geelong VFL level. Apparently swung forward and kicked a goal in his last game, but plays that key defensive role. I really like the look of it, but once again, what is his potential? If the scouts, I'm sure they'll be looking at him. If the scouts see him as a potential, then maybe bring him in. But once again, probably not the position I would be looking at. He's 26 years old. And I think that's the thing for me that maybe makes me go, maybe not, unless they really, really believe he's going to play over any of those guys. But Pink has been fantastic this year. He doesn't deserve to lose his spot. When you got Logue in the VFL sort of fighting to get in, we don't have space for another one of these guys. When you got Will Dawson, you got Whitlock. I'm going to basically completely rule out key defender here, but there's still, there's still people to look at. But I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't love it either. I just don't know if someone like that at 26 years of age who has been overlooked in drafts is going to come in as a key position player and make an impact straight away. All right, Tom McCarthy. This guy is playing for Richmond in the VFL at the moment. He is like a inside mid running half back sort of player, listed as a running half back that can also go to the inside mid. Now we're sort of talking about players that maybe have the player profile to make an impact for us at senior level. Yes, half back, maybe not the position we need, but if he can also play inside mid, that means he's got a lot of strength about him. He's got toughness. And if you could sort of make him into that lockdown smaller defender who can back up to a Jackson Archer, I definitely wouldn't be against it. He's played a lot of games for Richmond's VFL. It's the second year he's played for Richmond's VFL team. There's not heaps of numbers. Unfortunately, there's not many numbers on defensive stats, but he averages, he's getting 26, 23, 24 disposals in his good games. He's probably averaging low 20 disposals, maybe around the 20 disposal mark in 2025. So, yeah, look, I wouldn't be against it if they think he's physically good enough to be able to defend and lock down on people, this is the one I would take. I probably don't know. I don't want to see another running halfback because I think we've got those options. That being said, and it's a gut feel because this is not my expertise. I'm just trying to bring you guys a little bit of coverage here. From what I've known in my research, a couple of people I've chatted to, and even just some highlights I've seen, incredibly raw talent, but Rod Ali, I believe his name is, 186 centimeter medium defender. This is the guy I want to take, and it's a gut feel, but I think he's got the athletic ability to be a good run with defender, cause a contest. So I'll just read a little bit of an article that Zero Hanger has posted here. Mid-season draft prospect Rod Ali is set to make his VFL debut with Collingwood this weekend as he looks to build his case as an AFL prospect. The Eastern Rangers defender has been among the best overage names in the Talent League to start 2025. With the 186 centimetre frame, Ali joined the Rangers this year as a 19-year-old after spending time in basketball as a junior. So he's played basketball, which means he's athletic. Ali has played 2 games for Eastern to start the season, showing off his exciting skill set on both sides of possession as a physical defender who can kickstart attacks with the ball in hand. Having suited up for the young guns in both of the representative sides, showcasing matches against Vic Metro and Vic Country, Ali needs a single state league level appearance to secure his mid-season draft eligibility, having not nominated for last year's national draft. So mid-season draft prospects who did not nominate or have not previously been on AFL lists are required to play a minimum of 3 games at state league level. So that is the thing we need to find out. Eastern Rangers 2025. Does it say how many games he's played here? It does not. So, look, is he an actual prospect? That has made me go, I'm not too sure. And once again, I apologize. I can't give you that information because this is not my expertise. But if he is able to be drafted, I think this is the guy that I kind of want to go for. And I know he's not on the top of the mock drafts and the boards, but I don't want to just take the talent. I think we've made mistakes in the midseason and in the national drafts of taking the talents over the right fit. I've been critical of that with Zane Dersma, with Nick Watson and Dan Curtin and that sort of stuff. And Ders might be a good player one day, but right now he's not looking like it. He's back in the twos again. You know, they're playing him off half back in the two. So clearly he's got no positional identity. We need someone who fits the spot right away for me. Rod Ali is someone I would definitely be looking at. I like the look of him. Just from the stats, just from the player profiles. I think this is the way maybe we should go. And maybe not that exact player in particular, even though I do like his raw attributes. The basketball background makes me very excited with the athleticism and being a lockdown, like sort of physical defender in his player profile here. I just want a player like that. We need the Jackson Archer backup, and that is the number one thing that I would be looking at. So, is Tom McCarthy that? Maybe. Is Rod Ali that? Maybe. One other guy that we can look at, another medium defender, is Tom Evans, 180 centimeters, currently Bendigo Pioneers. So, look, he's a younger fella. He's only 18 years old, but a little bit of spiel, I guess, about Tom. The first of the mid-season draft prospects to be covered on the channel this year, Tom Evans had an absolutely immense performance on the weekend for the Pioneers to put himself firmly into the mid-season draft frame. He showed prospective AFL teams what he would bring, which is a prolific rebounding small defender with dash and excellent kicking skills paired with attacking, fearless decision making. So maybe more of a running defender there. Maybe he could play some sort of role like that. But once again, I probably want those lockdown defenders. And if Tom McCarthy and Ali are the guys who would be better at that, that is the way I would go. The last one that I've got to talk about here is a Ford Ruck combination. Floyd Burmeister, 199 centimeters, born in 2006. So another young one, which would take a lot of time, I guess, to develop. I think he's seen as maybe going slightly later in the draft. His draft profile here, A talented and deep draft crop means competition for spots are at an all-time high. Burmaster fits into the category of developable and athletic tools who are often rewarded with opportunities late in the intake, with more ready-made key position players available between the first and second rounds. Expect Burmaster to feature thereafter, though he arguably has enough traits to be given a shot at the top level. He can only get better. So a Ford Ruck hybrid, very, very raw. Look, yes, I'm traumatized by Jacob Edwards, but do we give this guy a go? Who knows? It says here, keep an eye on Floyd Burmeister, the GWV Rebels high flyer who has caught the eye of club scouts already this year. Burmeister was unlucky to not make it into onto an AFL list last year, but has shown in the early parts of 2025 in the Coates League talent. He booted 3 goals for Vic Country in a trial game on the weekend and has generated 10 scoring shots in 2 games for the Rebels. A tall forward who is athletic around the ground and loves to clunk a mark. Burmeister is exactly the type of player that clubs have pounced on mid-season in recent years. A quote here from Nick Cox. He's still very raw. He hasn't played a huge amount of footy, but I love him in my side, who's the Vic Country coach. So there's a few prospects for you. There's a few names for you. Just a rough outline. Let's not make this go for too much longer, but in my opinion, some of the guys I would like to take just off draft profile, just from a few highlights I've watched, the guys we're getting linked to. Massimo Rasso is one that I would like to see out of all those small forwards. The other two maybe don't spark me as much. Sam Toner, wouldn't hate it. I heard he's got a bit of talent behind him, the young fella, but, you know, Massimo Rasso's numbers just look better to me, so maybe we can go someone who's producing a bit more now. You cannot deny Sam Toner's the shots that he is and the attempts that he's having, even though he isn't converting at the best rate. Key forwards, I mean, Cooper Trembath isn't one that gets me. And Nathan Kruger I'll probably say no to just because it feels like another Brintikel who I like Brintikel and do want him to play AFL football. I think he's good, but we just don't want another one of those archetypes on the list. That being said, Archer May and Riley Mason, I would not hate to see come through the door. Archer May is probably the one I would draft with our first pick if we want to go down the key forward path. Riley Mason, if he can drop back a little bit, maybe to our second pick, maybe that's the way I would go. But those two putting up really, really good numbers in their respective leagues. Floyd Burmeister, I guess we'll lump him in with the forwards, even though he's a ruck forward. Probably a little bit too raw, a little bit of Jacob Edwards about it. Don't want to write him off. Not saying that's how he's going to turn out. He might be a superstar one day, but we've got, I'd rather give minutes into Taylor Goad. And we've got those other guys are more ready-made key forwards who I think can contribute now. Just even looking at photos and video of them, the physical specimen of an Archer May is bigger than a Riley Mason, but Mason is still a lot more AFL ready than Floyd Burmeister would be. Let's go to the defenders. I mean, Charlie McCartan, I'm so torn. I guess my brain's sort of going because he's a McCartan maybe, but not that Paddy worked out fantastic, but Tom is really, really good. So I'd probably say no to him just because I think we've got so many key defenders in their mid-20s. And with Toby Pink coming on a lot this year, I'd probably rather keep him in the frame with Will Dawson and Matt Whitlock coming through. Tom McCarthy, yep, he is one I wouldn't hate to see come through the door. I'll put Rod Alear in this. Yes, I would like maybe those two are probably my preferreds, but I don't really know. I tried to look up some mock drafts, but there's not really many mock drafts out at the moment, so I don't really know where those guys are maybe projected to go. I would say like a Rod Ali, just from not playing heaps of games. If he is eligible for the draft, he's going to be a later pick anyway. But as for archetype and player type, that's who I want to see come in. Tom Evans, running halfback, I'll say no, but once again, wouldn't hate it, but probably not because I want a more defensive-minded guy. So, I mean, that being said, a Tom McCarthy at 24, maybe I'll put him as my guy. Him or Rod Ali are people that I would like to see come into the club just for positional sake. So that's my little wrap-up and basic knowledge of the mid-season draft. Once again, apologies if I get any little things wrong there. It's not my expertise, but I'm trying to bring as much coverage as I can for it to you guys. Hopefully I've got most of those things right, and that has given you guys a little bit of insight into the draft. So we'll do an episode afterwards to review who we've got, which I think will be really, really exciting. And we'll see if we get anyone to make some sort of impact. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and put down below, what sort of player would you take? Would you take someone who's a 24-year-old Tom McCarthy who can come in and play, or a Kruger or a McCartan type who can play at all those ends of the ground and is more ready-made? Maybe doesn't have the ceiling, but can come and impact now? Or would you take a younger guy like we've done with Geordie Payne and those sort of players there? Someone who has a little bit more of a future, even a Rod Arley and that sort of stuff. Would you take those sort of guys? So let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Keep up to date on Instagram at Further North Pod. That is the best place to get me. We're on Facebook as well. We're on TikTok and all that sort of stuff. We're bringing it to you here. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll chat to you very, very soon.